Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to this latest edition, this special edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald Quinn, normally discussing the world of sports and pop culture. But tonight, due to what's going on around the country, we're going to have a different show, a different podcast, as I am joined by financial literacy consultant Casey Price to discuss something we all, that affects us all, and that, of course, is money. And what do you do with your money during this particular time as we go through this tragedy, this crisis, I should say, crisis and tragedy of the coronavirus? Casey Price is joining me. How you doing, Casey?
I'm doing good. How are you doing amongst this quarantine?
Uh, you know, I, it's it's been one of those there's stuff for me. There's plenty of stuff for me to do, so I don't have any. I'm not bored at all. It's just a matter of when I do it or at what I still gotta get my organization together in terms of coming up with like a plan
Right.
of what I want to do, when I want to do it, what order. So I'm still figuring out a routine, but I'll figure it out. Today was podcast day. That's why I spent the majority of my time
Okay.
uh, on Tom Brady and prepping for this particular podcast. How are you doing out there?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, I'm Pennsylvania. We're doing okay. My girlfriend in New York and New Jersey said that we're taking it as a joke. She said that she sees her friends in Pennsylvania on her timeline are living their best life in New York and New Jersey's on lockdown. So she said we haven't caught the wave yet, and I believe her. I'm home with my kids, so that makes it a little bit more difficult in some aspects.
Yeah, it seems like I wish that the country take heed to what New York is doing because it seems like they got their stuff together in terms of how serious this thing is in terms of doing, heading towards a shelter in place, the bars being closed, and things of that nature. I think majority of states, at least from last time I read, 37 of the 50 states had closed schools. But it just seems like I know for a fact this weekend people were out getting. I don't know if it was the last ditch partying, but people were not taking this serious enough in the weekend, considering some of the partying that was going on.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I was at a 1-year-old birthday party on Sunday, so I'm guilty of that. Yeah, my girl, like I said, the things we expected New York to take a huge hit because it's so big. And I have a friend in New York City, so like they're just doing a really good job at it. They clean, I think they should have like the airport or someone in to start cleaning the actual subways. Like they understand how big the problem is. It feels good to see our country be proactive in some aspects of this. Other aspects of talk about they weren't so much, but it feels good to see that somewhere has an idea of how big this is.
Yeah, no question about it. The reason why I had you brought you on the show is I know a lot of people are concerned about their finances and just not knowing if like not knowing when they're going to go back to work. Then there's still a number of people that are still working. I know both my parents are currently still working as we
Mm-hmm.
basically as we speak. But a lot of people are going to be out of work and probably be out of work for minimum couple months. Who knows how long this lasts? There've been talks of for this thing not being peaking at 45 days, whatever that means. I mean, no one really knows. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm an expert on knowing when this thing is going to come to an end or when people are going to be able to go back to work and back to school. What is the first thing that a person should think of in regards to their finances? Let's say you're out of work. um, what are some questions that you should be asking yourself or discussing with, let's say you're married or have a significant other? What should those conversations be looking like or sounding like?
I think it's a good question. I did go to a 1-year-old birthday party yesterday, and someone said they were doing an emergency family meeting. And I started to think that I hope through this podcast that people understand that should be a call for all of us. And if people say they don't want to believe in hysteria, it's not hysteria. It's worst case, best case scenarios. Best case scenario, it's 2 to 3 weeks. We all go back to work. Our kids go back to work. We see very small cuts. Realistic scenario, I think the question is, what do you do if you and your partner, or you and your spouse, or you and your family member both lose your jobs? What do you do if unemployment tanks? How much money do we have in the savings account? How much of 401k can we pool? What is the taxation law right now? How long do you have? Do you have any bills that are paid up in advance so we can basically work off of a credit? we have more than one property. So do we allow the investment property to go late, or do we allow our property to go late? If you have tenants, if you have real estate, what do you do if all your tenants lose their job and that cash flow, that mortgage that has been paying for itself, now becomes a part of your household? What do you do if you use all your savings accounts? I think people hate talking about money, and I think in relationships, family units, whether it's a bunch of single women or a bunch of single men, mother, father, sister, no kids, kids. The question is, are we going to do, crowdfunding? Are you willing to put money in a pot and say, keep someone lose their job? This money's for everybody. I think people have to really bunker down and take this seriously, because it's just not, people keep saying the virus is not that serious. It's about the economic backlash that we're going to have. And I'm so happy to be able to have the chance to talk to you about these things.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody is not at this point taking the virus serious, then I don't know what to tell you. Like to me, I did a podcast last Wednesday, and during the tenor of that podcast changed quickly, because before the podcast it was not so much don't take this seriously, but let's everybody not panic. Um,
Right.
and then the NBA got canceled. So after that, it was like, oh, okay. The NBA were talking about owners
Right.
giving up hundreds of millions of dollars, $1 billion corporation. That it seemed like from that point on, it was like, okay, this is officially
Game over. Game over.
game over. This is officially real. You didn't believe it, and it was real before, but that just it changed. It seemed like that changed everything from that point on, and this is like, okay, what's the next move
Yeah.
when jobs shut down, when schools shut down, and what have you. So there's no question about it. What questions should banks like? A lot of people, most people have relationships with banks with banks. What questions should people be asking to their banks? What information should banks be giving out to people as we speak? What should you be expecting?
So here's the thing. My hard part with this, right, is that when people are honest, when banks were honest and forthcoming, which we didn't see during the Great Depression, right? Banks just bottomed out. People don't know. I just talked to my students about this at Crystal, right? That during the Great Depression, banks, you would just go to the bank and knock on the door and be like, "Hey, PNC, lost my job. I need my savings account." And they're like, "As a matter of fact, we're packing up today. We lost all your money. Have a nice day. No one will be here tomorrow, and you're screwed." So I think that banks know enough, and thus creates FDIC, which insures your money up to $200,000. Anything over that, 250, anything over that, you're SOL. So I think the problem with banks is that they want to be more forthcoming, but being more forthcoming creates hysteria. I think about Temple University that shut down. We hear people saying, "Well, if you shut down, is it because you have cases you're not telling us about?" Because why would organizations shut down so early on that didn't actually have cases? So the same thing with banks are. If they're forthcoming, and what makes the public go crazy? Or do you want to know that PNC is saying, listen, we just did a 40% cut on employment, which means if people are not taking out loans, then banks make money off of interest. So if you're using your credit card to buy consumer goods that you can't afford when you may be losing your job, banks will make money. But if the biggest loan a bank basically takes out is commercial property loans, no one's buying commercial property right now. So if banks, you have to think about, if your bank's a big loan-based bank and a small bank, big bank, and they're really operating off of percentage off of mortgages, that's known for their great mortgage rates and their great mortgage products. If people are not taking out loans, your bank is going under. So your job is to find out what bank you have, monitor their online system, see the information they're putting out. Because people who are into investing, people who are into money, they're falling the cheap. Do not be the last person. This is not the 1930s anymore. Don't be the last person to find out what's going on with your bank. Go on their website, see the statements their CEOs are making, see their if they're public traded companies, see basically how well they're doing, how bad they're doing. Pay attention. We told our family members, being financial people, me and my husband, we told our family members, take the cash out of your bank other than what's automatic withdrawal. We want to have cash on hand while in our neighborhoods were shut down. I didn't know what the hell that means, but that's scary. So we need to have cash on hand, and you need to basically follow your bank because they have your money.
So you strongly recommend that people take a certain amount of cash out of their savings accounts, or some to just just give an estimate of how much they're going to be able to, let's say they're out of work for
take out. I think.
Go ahead.
So my thing is, how some people have electricity comes out automatically and like Pico, like other than calculate with those automatic things that come out, right?
Right.
Leave those in.
Okay.
I don't want to create a hysteria where people are emptying out the bank.
Okay.
But I think that between $500 to $1,000 in cash, I think in the next 2 weeks, I feel comfortable in my house. My husband said, listen, you have credit cards that you would only pay out of your joint account. Chill right now. Or try to pay stuff off. Try to keep as much as you can in your checking account. And then we have a bunch of cash on hand that we're going to deposit into our account. And my husband's like, let's just relax, keep $500 in the house. Because this is the thing you can understand is that this is watching the Great Depression, right? Along with SARS and MERS. Along with having a great, like, kind of not a dictator, but kind of having a very untrustworthy president at the same time. So these experts, we've seen one happen to the other. We've seen a bad political climate. We've seen a bad financial climate. We've seen banks go under. And we've seen SARS and seen MERS. We've never seen all three of them happen at the same time on the same day. Exactly. So we don't know what's going to happen with things. So I wouldn't want to scare people, but I definitely want you to have a lot of cash on hand.
So cash on hand. Now, it came out, a couple of announcements, a couple of things came out today that I found interesting, and I'll go one by one. So the Dow goes down yesterday, a record, well, the second worst drop in history since '87. Of course, that famous Black, they called it Black Monday. Matter of fact, they made Showtime as a series about it. Not very good, but anyway, about Black Monday and that whole deal. Yeah, I mean, season 1 was horrible. I couldn't get into it, but Black Monday, that drops yesterday. Today, the stock market was up 1,049 points. Can you explain that? Why that happened why that happened in one day?
So what happened, right, when it went down, what we can explain is that the average American, right, has money in a 401k, mutual funds. The average American, they believe that they are stock traders. They say, I have stocks, right? They're not about this life. They're not traders. They're not looking at all day. And they see something worth $75 go down to $50, and they say, hell no. I'm not losing any more money than I have. I'm out, right? So basically, stocks like popularity. They go down when they start to, you see it's bad, I see it's bad, we saw something fish in the water, we all jump at the same time. So the value, think of the stock price like the value of the stock. So people start to be afraid, not the traders, not the long-term people, right? The people who are in a stock market, the average American, start to get afraid, so they dump. And people basically said, why would I want to lose more money? Which makes complete sense, right? But then what happens is our president says, or releases in a conference and says that, hey, we're thinking about doing, I've seen $860 billion, I've seen $1 trillion, I've seen multiple numbers in different reportings, doing a bailout. So they do a bailout. People start to have confidence about, well, if the president's backing this and he's a business guy, then people start to have a little bit more confidence in it. My conspiracy theorists are going to say that he kind of, played it somewhere a little bit, bought some stocks to kind of try to even it out, to not to make people be so afraid. But no matter what happens today or what happens the next day, eventually how people truly feel and how the truly spending will show out. So whether or not they release this stimulus, emergency funding, I'm 50-50 on it. I don't know if I think it's really going to happen. I think it's just good thing to hear. You saw the effect over 1,000 points. But basically, this is a response to the president saying, I'm going to give people a bunch of money. And people go, I don't have to dump my stocks anymore because everything will work out and I'll have a bunch of money to be able to pay my bills. Right. This is kind of using emotions to kind of put up the stock market.
No question about it. It's definitely, without question, psychological. And that leads me to my next, to the next announcement that came out. Not so much an announcement, but in regards to the government saying, talking about these checks. At first, you saw the $1,000 checks for each American. Then I saw a report that had 3 payments totaling $4,500, where the first installment would be $2,000, and the following 2 installments would be for $1,500 and $1,000. What are your thoughts on these checks, on this amount of money? Do you see this happening? Do you see something close to this? Do you see that you think those are going to be some accurate figures in terms of the amount of money that the government is going to dole out?
I love the company. The country that's not trillion dollar debt. We have $4,500 per family per human on in the U.S. I think that's amazing how we just pulled that money out of somewhere. But I think, do I think it's going to happen? I told you I'm 50-50 on it. I think that the problem is we're not trusting of our leadership. that I feel like it's not like we have a thoughtful leader that doesn't say stuff, that's hesitant. Because we've seen leaders before kind of Bush after 9/11 kind of take their time to release information because they want to make sure they didn't get people hysteric. Where I think we're the opposite sort of leadership, where they say something at a press conference and then or in a meeting, all of a sudden we hear about it and we're all excited about it, and they're like, "Oh, should have said that so early." So I don't know if he kind of said it prematurely, but I think one thing that you talked to me about was like, well, what should we do with that money? And my thing is, I want to speak to the culture, right? Well, you see 4,500, people think it's a come up. $4,500 is to help their layoffs. $4,500 is to have that when you quarantine people, consumer debt, the number one consumers right now, African Americans, is that they want you to start spending money again. Because when you stop going to Target, when you stop going to these consumer places, you stop making overall the company, the structure of America, corporate America, they lose income. They're losing money, like you said, by hundreds of millions by the day in some industries. So this is just to get you to start spending money again. Stimulus just means we want you to spend money again to put it back in the economy so we can tax you again and keep the cycle going. You can't quarantine people and lay them off and then expect for the corporate structure to still stand. So I'm fearful that people will take this money and think it's just a way, something to go shopping with, get those pair of shoes you want to book that trip for, flights are low, get that hair you need. And they're missing it. They're really missing it. Yeah. This isn't money for you to save, hold on to, invest, and conserve.
Yeah, that's a great point because, people will look at that kind of like a Christmas gift or like an unexpected Christmas gift or or extra cash on a tax return on some tax money that they were going to get. You're saying that should immediately go into paying either paying bills or or even investing. I mean, I've heard that some of that too. Maybe purchasing some stocks that are that are down right now that will get up once the economy stabilizes.
Right. And I think I think about me and my husband, right? If we get $9,000, I'm an investor. I always do things with the eye. As an investor, I'm going to put $9,000 into down payment on a property in North Philadelphia or West Philadelphia. I'll open up a boarding home and then have an income stream and say, thank you, government, for funding my next, project. Because if you give me a second to explain this, I don't think people understand. I was talking to my students. It's not about American Airlines goes down for $15 last Tuesday or last Wednesday, a stock, because people aren't flying anymore. It's about the peanut company that basically their number one vendor is American Airlines or Delta. And now they can't afford the person, an accountant who makes $250,000 a year. So she gets laid off. So she can't afford her mortgage. So now the banks are in foreclosure. I don't think people understand this is not about people getting sick and not flying. This is about industries. My sister works in the travel industry. She got a memo saying they're making 20% layoffs. They just started working from home last Wednesday. 20% of the company is going down within less than a week. And that's just week one. They're only on quarantine one. They said that they shut down their sales department and they're 100% cancellation of refunds. That is all she's able to answer. So I don't think people have perspective that this is going to be a snowball. And 4,500 will mean a lot for you if you and your partner get laid off and your kids' daycare, your private school is closed down. I don't think people understand how big this is going to hit the economy.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be in, there's no question that we're going to be in a recession. As it goes without saying. How about small business owners and employees? I think for a small business owner, what type of questions should you be asking your accountant or your bank in regards to businesses that are certainly going to be devastated by this?
Right. Good question. I think that small business owners, I saw one person say, Dana Chanel out of Philadelphia, she's like a big Christian entrepreneur here, and she said one thing she reposted was like, you have to learn how to be flexible and pivot. So my thing is, especially with these online businesses, the Instagram businesses didn't exist in the Great Depression or the 08 recession. People weren't selling eyelashes. So my thing is, if your small business is 100% the way you're generating revenue, you're going to take a loss. The difference is Starbucks can take a $20 loss because they're at the $20 level. Can you take losing $5,000 a month when that's what you're going to eat off of? So the biggest thing you could do is be prayerful about who to keep and who to let go. You have to do an ROI of basically all your staff. If you have 10 people, 15 people, 30 people, who basically do you know will be able to substantiate, who can take a pay cut and still produce the same amount, who can work from home and get the same amount of results done, whose insurance claim is the highest. You need to basically have a straight business meetings, the leaders in your company, and saying, who do we keep? Who do we let go? Sometimes you have to figure out if it's possible to operate the business, and basically it makes more sense to put the lights on and sell no products and just keep the lights off until you're able to sell products again. And you need to go back. I think during this time off, people need to straighten up their LinkedIn, straighten up their resume, and realize that they may have to go back to funding a dream and probably getting 9 to 5 again, because until people find the need to purchase online businesses, small products, until people find the need to buy the extra or luxury items, I think that small business is going to see a big hit. The biggest thing is be flexible and be okay with making cuts. So it's going to be for the greater good of the company.
So as a small business owner that the longer this thing goes, that you're going to have to let some people go. Like that's almost goes without saying.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of who can you afford to let go versus who you can't.
Mm-hmm.
The flip.
And your insurance, like if your insurance is covering, if you have to shut down your business for 2 months, cancel your insurance premium. What are you insuring right now? If you have to cancel your WIS account, if you have to cancel, put your website down, figure out where you can take pay cuts at and do it immediately. While you shut everything down and save as much money as you can.
Now, a few businesses, fortunately for them, can work from home and can conduct business online, which is great. What if you're a small business that doesn't depend on online, and you're like a very small
Mm-hmm.
percentage of your business is done online? How do you navigate through that? Which by the way, in 2020, you should be able to pivot towards being
Right.
online. I'm just gonna say that I don't own a small business, but I know from it is 2020. Like you should be that's something that you should be thinking about. Hopefully once we get through this, like I need to be able to have that in my toolbox in terms of being able to deal with do online stuff. But assuming, passing no judgment, but assuming that that's really not how you conduct business in terms of online, because there's still a few businesses out there that don't primarily, you know, couldn't pivot towards that being online. But what are those businesses supposed to do? What are the best options for those people?
I think you killed the question. I think you answered it well. Is that I think you don't have a choice but to be online. If you're a service, if you're putting, I don't know, let's say $200 a month into circulars or to Post-its or to whatever your type of advertisement is, put that money into social media marketing. Go to Fiverr, go to Udemy. Don't reinvent the wheel. Pay people to create online websites, and when you're in quarantine, start with the online website, start with the e-commerce business. You don't have a choice. I think that, don't forget, people are at home, right, with their paychecks, especially salary people, are at home making money to some extent. They've been laid off yet. Making money was nothing to do with their money, right? So they're not out spending the way they would. The bars are shut down. The restaurants shut off their clients that take a seat. Why are you still going to Miller's, right? Why are you still going to Mike's Bar and Grill? And we basically shut everybody down. While they're at home and they're idle on their computers and idle on social media, put $25 towards social media ads. Get it done. Like you don't have, like you said, you don't really have a choice. Other than that, I think the biggest thing is you have to start negotiating. If you actually have like a store, start negotiating, finding out. In Philadelphia, you have like a no eviction law right now. Find out, hey, what's going to go on if I'm unable to meet, my payment? Will you be able to downsize the rent? Call your insurance agency. Would you be able to temporarily suspend this? You need to be cutting bills. Call Pico. Call your your cell phone company, your electric company. See who you're able to downsize with, get less productivity. Your job here is to basically go through your finances, see what the cut is. And I think you said 100%, you have to go to an online model. It's a non-negotiable if you want to survive this. If you're looking for your small business to get shut down, 2020, if you stay off the internet, this might be the way it goes down. Definitely.
No question about it. How about the flip side? If you are someone who, a lot of people work multiple jobs. If you're someone who is dependent on that income as a small business employee, what options should you? How long should you wait? Because this is going to become a waiting game without question. Because none of us know how long this is going to drag out. But how long should you wait before you have to figure out some other means of income, other ways to get access to income?
So my financial coach hat comes on here. So I look to tell people, okay, what's coming out, what's going in, right? So what's going in now just immediately within a week and a half became unpredictable. So salary employees, for example, I work as an instructor and consultant for Crystal Ray. I'm salaried. As long as school's out, I get paid. Unless the parents are paying my private school tuition, right? So you have to look, this is a financial question first, like a smart financial question, is first you have to look at what's coming in. If my expenses are $2,000, right, and right now I have $5,000 in my savings account, I have enough to live off of 2.5 months. The problem with that was saying is that I told people to apply for unemployment immediately. My girlfriend's husband works he works in a restaurant and he's a cook, and I basically told her he's an hourly employee. If you're going to cut down my hours and not going to pay me, I'm entitled, according to the federal, Pennsylvania, state, whatever law, to get unemployment. Considering unemployment is not as long as it used to be back in the day. One of our favorite presidents did that. Back in the day, it's not as long as it used to be. Like you said, you just figure out, do you take it now? Will your business be out for 6 months or 6 weeks? So I would want you to actually apply for it now, because we don't know by the droves of which numbers. We don't know if it's going to be a first come, first serve type of thing, or if our very business savvy president will say, extend it. So if unemployment is only 26 weeks, maybe we'll see extension periods of 52 weeks and maybe up to 18 months of this period. I think it's smart to apply for it now. If your job is cutting your hours, I would want to be the first phone calls rather than the last phone calls, kind of like financial aid, with getting the funding you need for your family. And only you and your family know when you should, call in, when you shouldn't call in. You can calculate today, how much money do we have to live off of our expenses? So my financial clients always tell them, don't tell me you save $500 a month or $1,000 a month. You should be saving as a goal. If your bill is $3,000, every $3,000 you just save a month of the expenses. So you need to find out how much you have to live off of, and then figure out if you lose your job the next 2 or 3 months, is unemployment going to be the best option for you the next 26 weeks? That's all you get right now, unemployment 26 weeks.
So with unemployment debt, you want to err on the side of caution and just be one of the first people to file. Just even if your hours are not cut, like your hours are going to be cut, like the way it's going. But you just want to
Right.
you just don't want to wait too long, because more than likely
Right.
they deal.
But you're entitled to it.
Right.
You're entitled to it. Absolutely.
No question about it. Speaking of unemployment, what effect will this have on unemployment in terms of money available, things of that nature?
That I think that's one of my biggest fears. People are texting me and saying, "Can I get unemployment?" I'm like, absolutely. If you went from 40 hours a week and you're at 16, you can get unemployment for the difference of those 24 hours. My biggest fear is, in the case of droves, we don't know if we're going to see 10% unemployment rates, 40% unemployment rates, or 15%. So I 100% believe that people who are in the latter will end up having to wait longer periods. California has the law waiving like the 1 week, whatever, the waiting period for unemployment. I think that the government is smart enough to know that we need people to have money to live and to spend money and not to have looting and create anarchy. But at the same time, I'm fearful that unemployment funding right now is not prepared for what they're about to see with these phone calls. People who never thought that they would ever rely on the government and turn their head to it are going to be maxing out unemployment right now because, listen, if I have to make cuts, the person that makes 160 and 250, you have to go. You have to go. They're going to be one of the first things they cut. Corporate offices, people just kind of sit around, take phone calls at home, don't do very much, use public accounts. So I think the biggest thing that you're going to see is upper middle class and upper class people are going to start applying for this and start to kind of drain the funds. So then the question is, what happens to the person that really needs it and they can't get hired again? So I think it's definitely going to have to be first come, first served, because what are you going to do when me and you apply April 15th and it costs them an 8-week waiting period? That'll work into.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be some tough decisions that have to be made with small. I don't envy a small business owner at all, because they're gonna. I mean,
Right.
it's just. I mean, it's no. There's no way around. There's no way around this in terms of making a tough decision. I would also want, and I'm sure you'll be in agreement with this. Makes like you might have to do some repairing of those relationships, even though people should understand, considering
Right.
what's going on. You want to kind of check in, and I know, you know, our schools are out. I work in education. We're doing. It's impossible to teach kids from your house, but we sent out packets and stuff, and you
Right.
have to call in, check in with families. You want to do that with your employees, or just as
Right.
a way to just as a way of if you hadn't already done it, just as a way of, hey, I care about you, not as a person, not just somebody who works for me. I think that will go a long way in terms of smoothing out some of the decisions that you have to make, or if you have to cut somebody, or listen, when this thing runs its course, that person, you know, that person might have been a great employee. You might want to still have that person a part of your team. So I think that relationship connecting
Right.
and building is going to be important for these small to mid business owners.
Right. I think it's thinking like a leader. I know, like for some of our students in Philadelphia, they were shutting down Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A basically said they will give them, I think it was 1 month of salary if they would return. Because people's
Wow.
biggest fear is that if I don't help you, especially hourly employees, if I don't give you payment or I don't provide a job for you for 4 weeks, you go somewhere else. My whole thing, when this first began, people felt kind of arrogant to say that. It's like, where do you think people are going to go? While people are laying someone off, generally other businesses are not hiring them. So you're not going to see like a 50% layoff at Starbucks and Dunkin' is hiring 80%. So my thing is, small business owner, I guess it'd be comforting. It's really good. Small business owners are very self-conscious about failing. And this is not a failure. This is not even a failure to plan. This is something that I think that no one could really see. But I also do in small business. Your personal household, your personal finances greatly reflect your business finances. So if you're a person that has $10,000 in reserves and your personal finance, more than likely we'll see that same type of business practices reflected on your business side. And even like a quick anecdote, like I have a college touring business, and we actually help international students, specifically in China and Korean market and Europe, come to American universities. So at first, my interns were saying, okay, so we're going to stop recruiting people in China. Let's go to Korea, right? This is how crazy it sounds to say this now. And then we're like, okay, Thailand. We're like, okay, India. They're like, okay, so maybe we can't get anyone who's not from the U.S. to come to college. So we said, so you know what? We're going to focus on kids in Philadelphia who want to go on college tours amongst Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. When colleges started shutting down for the whole semester, how do I even know in June and July I can get your kid on a college campus? Mind you, when they should be making permanent decisions to what college they'll be going to, the colleges are shut down. So what is that 11th and 12th grader do right now? So now I have to have these business calls and saying, well, how do we pivot? Because we pivoted from China to Korea to Europe to the U.S. So now how can I give your kid a college for the summer? Do I just shut up shop and just not advertise my company at all this summer? Or do I just move forward on just being an online platform? Like, these are serious questions, and we put a lot of money out for this process. So I'm right there with what you're saying, 100% there.
So when this thing started, there was a lot of talk in terms of how to deal with it. As far as obviously, there's no vaccines right now. Even though I know they ran a couple of test vaccines today on some people in Washington
Mm-hmm.
State, but there's no official vaccine to cure it. But they were saying we're going through. They were saying wash your hands, use sanitizer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do some of the things that you would think that would be common sense or obvious. Are you amazed that as doing what you do, that there are some things that people should have been doing financially even before this came about that all of a sudden is going to be exposed because of this?
But
Are you just shaking your head at times, not passing judgment, but saying, hey, you probably in your
right,
mind you probably should have been focused on this from in terms of your finances even before this coronavirus came about? Did you find
yeah.
are you getting a lot of that from in terms of clients and
I
people that you advise?
I'm surprised at how people don't reach out to me. I think people are kind of have a sense of arrogance that they're okay till they're not okay. So you can't hire a financial coach once you lost your job. You can't handle a financial coach once your job's and we're doing pay cuts, either get with it or you get out. I think that because you can't afford me then. So I think my biggest thing is this puts the word emergency fund on a completely different platform. I went on an interview to be like a director of finance literacy center in Philadelphia, and they said the average family doesn't have $300 in savings. $300.
Wow.
So my thing is, some of us, if you have children that you're paying those childcare fees, you know that there's some states and cities and neighborhoods that doesn't even cover a week of infant care. So the fact that most people don't have $300 to need in America, and this is not a racial thing, it's not a social class thing, it's across the board. Because what we see in severe poverty is living moment to moment. What I see with my middle class clients is being the confidence of their education or job, thinking that they're basically bulletproof. Like I said, these high paying salaries are really at risk here because you're the first one to go. Because I can have a 20-year-old with less experience come and do the same job you did for a quarter of the salary. So I think I'm really surprised about people who are spending money. And so someone on Instagram saying, don't get it twisted. Like, women are still getting their hair done. And I can imagine, of course, I don't want to go to my hair salon, but, like, the fact is that people who are hourly employees who may actually list deduction of hours for 6 to 11 paycheck are still prioritizing hair and nails and, like, going to store and online shopping. Amazon's having to do amazing with people just bored spending money. You don't even know if the money you have right now will last you for the next 3 to 6 months. Because none of us know what's going to happen in the job field. So I can't spend money that I don't have. And I think that's my biggest concern with people is that people need to conserve their money. People need to be respectful. People need to understand it's not time to throw a St. Patty's Day kegger. Like, this is just not the time for that. This is the time to wait and see how your job's responding. What are the emails? What's the economy? And if you never had an emergency fund and you never invest into the stock market, I promise you that my industry would be doing very well after this because people would know what they didn't know at this point in time.
What do you think is, again, we don't know when this is going to come to an end. What do you think is going to be the overall fallout to this once everything, once the restrictions have been lifted, once people start going back to work, once things kind of, in terms of a lifestyle standpoint, go seemingly back to normal as possible? What do you think is going to be the overall fallout of this?
The really scary part, I'm not going to be very popular on your podcast of this, is that I think it's very serendipitous that while we have a financial crash going on, we have a strong financial leader. So whether I agree with all his practices or no, I know that he knows business. I know he knows money. I don't know if he's always going to put the right moves towards it, but I think the fact is that we have a system in place where if you don't know about immigration, and you don't know about empathy, and you don't know about racism, he knows about money. He knows about the Federal Reserve. He knows what's going on. He knew what was going on with the current president. Like it or not, he knows more about money than most people do who have an opinion about it. So I think the fact is that whether or not that we have the vaccine or not, because we have people who are ex-vacciners are basically coming out of nowhere saying, I'm not getting that. You can't pay me to get that. I think the moment that this goes longer than people think that it is, I'm a fearful of anarchy. I'm a fearful of New Jersey. We have people out right now. We have curfews. So when you have curfews out, you have people who rebel against it more. I think that when we get on the same page about how long we choose to make this last. So if after this 4-week or 2-week quarantine, for different things through Washington, people know the Pentagon, to reach out to our family, I think that after this 4 weeks happens, right, and it's people who are infected now through the 2-week quarantine, and people who are affected week 3 get the 2-week quarantine. After 4 weeks, if we see the numbers go down within the next 3 to 4 weeks, I think we'll be able to come past this. I think if what he's saying is July or August, we don't see the numbers go down and we don't see industry pick back up again, I think we are in serious trouble. So even I heard that New York schools are closing to April 20th is really far. That is a long time to shut down an economy. And I think that if we go to April 20th, like they say that we are, I think we're in trouble. I really do.
And you're talking about, you mean like 2000 Great Depression trouble, 2008 recession.
I think we're stuck in the middle. I think that what happened with 2008 with mortgages, right? I mean, real estate. I think what happened with mortgages. I think that our president and our people in power, a business leader knows how to put people who are smarter than them in position. So what we saw with the tax laws, Trump didn't just say, I know what I'm talking about. Trump hired some of the best and said, where are we making mistakes at? How can you fix our debt, right? People don't know this. I think the same thing with 2008, the mortgage crisis. Banks are basically saying, we don't care if you can't pay us. We care that we can structure your loan that you can pay back eventually. That's such a good sentiment compared to 2008. They were like, oh, wait, people aren't paying? Why? And they sold these mortgage notes and inflated them, and they made money off of us. But I didn't realize that while they were making money off of us and we were suffering, eventually suffered in their pockets as well because we couldn't afford these things. So I think we're wiser than 2008. But I think the stock market crash, the hard part is this, right? If you see a company going for $16 and you think it's on sale, you buy it now, your hope is that one day it'll go back up to 200. Tesla went from 900 to 600 to 300, 500. We hope that Tesla goes back up again. But what happens in 6 months and no one can afford a Tesla, and Tesla is bankrupt, and we're telling our great-grandkids that Tesla's a car that we heard about years ago. So if we can't predict who's going to go out completely and who's going to bounce back. So I think having a president who who at least understands these concepts, who doesn't have to have advisors explain them about money, sadly enough, not to give Trump so much credit, I think that's kind of our saving grace in that.
Wow. I mean, you probably made my audience even that much more nervous. But I mean, listen, to your point, he does. If he doesn't know anything, he doesn't know a lot of anything. He does know about money, and he does know about money and business. He does understand that. So like whatever 99% of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, you can take it in one ear out the other. You're
Right.
correct from that standpoint. He does know about money. How about for my students out there as far as loan payments, college payments, Navy and Sally Mae? What advice do you have to them paying back student loans and
So my girlfriend called me.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. My girlfriend called me today and said she's at 0% interest. So if you're a person, again, if you have the money, if you're living piece of paycheck and you need that extra money that someone will change your life and your job is at risk, then no. Some people are sitting good, working from home any damn way. But if you can put down, right now the interest rates are locked in. Like there was 0% yesterday. Like 0% on your student loan is amazing. So if you're that person that has the money, not people who don't have it, you only have $5,000 in your account, $2,000 in your account. If you have the money to put a large payment on your student loans, it's today. Also, our article telling people you need to ask for forbearance and let them know because of the epidemic that you were unaware if you can make your student loan payments. They're putting people on easy 4-month forbearances. Take advantage of it. Even if you're sitting pretty, why would you not buy yourself 4 months? Because like I said, keep saying throughout here, not to scare people, you don't know what's going to happen to your job day by day. So my thing is take the forbearance, take the 4 months. It's not going to affect your credit. I mean, you're going to be okay. They're not evictions, mortgage, PECO, AT&T, Sprint. All these companies are basically working with people. So student loans are basically saying they're at 0% interest, which unless you're going to pay it all off on one check, is going to set you. But if you can go and call and say, listen, I don't know so on my job. I read an article. The person said they're not giving you a hard time. They're not asking, well, what's wrong with your job? How sick are you? They're not giving you any backlash. They understand. That is so different compared to 2008 and 1929. That's a completely different economy. We're in a completely different world.
Yeah, definitely, I definitely would be leaning towards the forbearance if you can. Like I said, this is a time where, again, we're in a crisis. It's not going to mess up your credit. So that's something, that's however much you were paying per month, that's something that could be food in your mouth or going towards
right.
Saving for, like I said, for, these times that we're going to save for. Tell my audience about how you got to your particular position. I know you are big on education. How does that impact? How does education impact what you do? Give my audience some information about that in terms of yourself and how you got to where you're at right now.
Sure, I appreciate the question. So I went to school to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer. I told me I was going to be a lawyer for drug dealers. I'd be a defense attorney. I would make a bunch of money, be a young girl in the city, and just basically get them off. I knew what I was talking about. I was good at law, and I would sit in on RICO cases for fun and just help defendants.
90 seconds.
No, I wasn't making any money. I just enjoyed it so much. And I realized that I wasn't obsessed with crime. I was obsessed with the cycle of poverty. So I was obsessed with seeing how Philadelphia was affected by the crack epidemic in 2007. And I grew up in the county, which we call the suburbs out of Philadelphia. So I didn't see the severe poverty. So I went from Bucks County suburbs, 2 parents, whatever, to living in one of the, I think Philadelphia has the highest severe poverty rate in the
60 seconds.
So that means that out of a family of 4, most people like 34,000.
Right.
Our severe poverty rate, a family of 4, is under $16,000. And that's working adults. That's not like mom and dad's not at home. They're actually working, making $16,000 with 2 children. So I worked with this company, and we would help people get low-income housing, but we would allow them to get college degrees. So okay, go to school for 4 years, part-time. We'll make your rent $160 for a bedroom. And I would have girls with Fendi belts and Gucci bags and master's degrees and eviction processes for $160. And that's when I realized that academic IQ is awesome. But if you have academic IQ, I always tell my kids, end up being like MC Hammer, or you end up being like Allen Iverson. You have all this money. If you don't know what to do with it, you're still going to live in poverty. So I started learning about Robert Kiyosaki. My husband is my muse. He always tells me, like, I'm from the hood. I'm
10
taught,
seconds.
I know everyone at the school. And he talked to me about Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey. And I basically, he would teach me, and I would apply it to case management. So I ended up going back to school at the University of Pennsylvania to create a financial curriculum piece, and people were introducing me to Crystal Hill. You should apply there. So they have an amazing grant, a donation from TD Bank. So I teach high school kids financial literacy.
Just dropped it. Yeah, that was Casey. Thanks to Casey Price for joining the podcast. For joining the podcast. Again, you can check this podcast out anytime. Anytime at Blog Talk Radio, my YouTube channel. Appreciate her for coming on. And definitely listen to this podcast. Definitely for financial advice and financial literacy. I strongly recommend it. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. I will see you next time.